What about the event, man?
It was interesting.
It was a star-studded event.
Sure.
Regis Prograis, Ivan Redkach, who was on the card. I think that was the only real contest. That was a Frank Mir who was on the card as well.
Frank Mir looked big, man. 275.
It was a heavyweight going against a light heavyweight or a middleweight or something like that.
It was crazy.
You know what I mean? But he held himself
he did
pretty well, man. He fared pretty well. Frank Mir has always been pretty good with his hands.
Sure.
Again, the size difference between the two definitely put him in good position to go out and last the 8 rounds more than anything. And I think that's what it was all about for Frank Mir. Frank said, man, as soon as Frank Mir finished that fight, he I don't know if you heard him, but it was like a whisper. He said, "Where's the pay window?"
Well, Book, we have a special guest that we want to talk about all these things with. You want to bring him on?
Hey, man, let's bring him in. Special guest, guys. Former WWE heavyweight champion, soon to be, probably the guy that's going to be promoting all over the world. I've been hearing a whole lot about this guy. Let's bring Mark Henry inside the Hall of Fame.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, Mark? How you doing, Doug?
I'm doing good, man. Like the riveting conversation here.
Man, we just talk. We just have fun inside the Hall of Fame more than anything, man. We talking about the debacle, the fight of the century, the event of the last decade. I tell you, man.
Tell us how you really feel, Book. Debacle.
The debacle.
No, my thing is this, Jake Paul.
I didn't think it was that bad.
Come on, man. Come on. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Jake Paul versus Ben Askren. Live in Atlanta, Georgia, the home of one of the hottest
Magic City chicken wings.
The lemon pepper special.
See what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. You already know.
I felt like I was at Magic City watching the.
Come on here.
Some of those performances.
That's
right?
what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. It had a whole lot of, let's just say, extracurricular activity going on. Let's say it like that. They had the concert. The one thing though I did really enjoy, that was Ice Cube, Too Short,
Westmore.
E40, that Snoop Dogg.
The whole collection was called Westmore.
That should have been like that. That was the Four Horsemen. That's as much as those guys.
That was the West Coast Four Horsemen.
That's what they should have been. God. Am I right or wrong?
That was so live. I would have paid money just to see them perform.
You know what, man? Only thing I was wishing they had extra. Made it to Five Horsemen and made it a hologram of Tupac.
2 dancing girls rather than one.
No. Put a hologram of Tupac right in the middle. That would have set the whole show off to another level, and everybody would have been talking about that, opposed to what really went on. Tell me, Mark, what did you think about the show from a whole?
I thought it was awesome, man. I think it's going to be the new future of the way we watch boxing. They need to get better boxing matches. One, if I was top boxing company in the world, I would take that model. I would do exactly the same thing. I wouldn't change nothing except for during the daytime, I would do more tasteful, more PG entertainment. And I would do it from 3 or 4 o'clock to about 6 or 7 o'clock. With the concert and the fights. And then I would do one called After Dark, where, at 10 o'clock to, midnight, 1 o'clock, then I would do exactly what they did with Ben Askren and
Jake Paul
fight card was. Except I would get better fights. I would get the best fighters in the world and some of the best entertainers in the world. And that's the way that I would consume boxing from now on.
But now let me look at it from another side. Do you realize how hard is going to, I can see these guys, rounding up the entertainment just because, Snoop Dogg, I mean, he's from that world. I mean, all he got to do is make a phone call. But as far as getting the boxers, when you got, matchroom boxers, when you got Top Rank, you know what I mean? Right now, the fight game is so locked down as far as getting good fighters. That's why, they had to get a Rougarou and a Red Catch. All the rest of the fighters were gimmick fights. And I think it's almost like, cracking in, into the NFL, like the XFL. It was so hard for the XFL to really get kicked off because they didn't have the NFL pushing and trying to help them. What do you think about that?
Look, what you're saying is exactly what's going on with baseball right now. Identical. The old heads, they're the gatekeepers. They're controlling the wallet. They're controlling the networks. They're controlling the titles, and they have the fighters under contracts. Exactly the same thing. So now you have to go to the Top Rank boxing. You got to go to all these boxing organizations and say, listen, guys, I know this is the way y'all done it for years. It's broken, obviously, because nobody gives a you-know-what about boxing no more. With the exception of about 5 guys, you don't know nobody unless you're just a boxing head.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Now you got to say, okay, it's broken. Allow me to fix this. There's a model already existing where I can't wait to see what the numbers were because I know it's a success because everybody I know is talking about it. And I know everybody paid for it just like I did.
You know what? I like the entrepreneur, of really trying to get out there and trying to make your own, trying to do your own thing. But can you imagine? Can you see Manny Pacquiao fighting on a fight card like this?
Yeah.
Can you see the biggest fighters? The Olympic fighters fighting on because and the reason I say that is because, the guy that we're going to be talking about here in a second, Ben Askren, he didn't have a great outing in the fight or anything like that with Jake Paul, but he said something that resonated with me that I was listening to just a little while ago. And it was his first interview, and he was talking about how he's a coach. He has a lot of kids that perhaps that was watching that event on Saturday night. A lot of them, he probably would not have wanted them to watch the event because it was more strippers than it was fighting. It was more smoking than it was fighting. It was more cursing than come on, Oscar De La Hoya, the Golden Boy, he looked like a complete fool at this event. Now, do you think something? I'm just being real. Do you think?
Look, that's why I said I 100% agree with you, and I agree with Ben. That's why I said you do another event that's daytime, that's PG. Everybody consumes what they're entertained by differently. Obviously, very obvious after watching that event.
Yeah.
Everybody consumes differently. Westmore performing, you got rappers and rock stars. It's going to be alcohol, marijuana, and other drugs that we don't need to talk about on this show.
That's some scantily clad ladies.
It's some scantily clad women. And, before I retired, I can't judge. I'm not a prude at all. There is nobody walking the face of the earth that know more addresses and bouncer phone numbers than me.
No, you know what, man? I ain't hating on it or anything like that.
But you got to make it accessible for those adults. So after dark, 10 o'clock and on, hey, you do that for the adults.
We got to take a break. But before we take a break, we're going to come back and we're going to continue this conversation. Man, it's a whole lot different now. Guys, stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back. Shup. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. Hey, big shout out to Trey Robb, East Side. $2 super chat, man. I want to appreciate it. Appreciate it. We got put that in the bank right there. But back with my man Mark Henry. talking about the fight went down this weekend. Jake Paul versus Ben, in the words of Michael Buffer, Ben Askren. I'm just saying.
He couldn't catch a break the whole weekend.
Not my words. That's what Michael Buffer said. I don't know if it was a typo or what, but that's the way it came off. But no, man, I totally understand. Mark Henry, maybe a two-sided show, flip the coin. You know, you got the heads and tails show. The head show is going to be the clean side. The tails, of course. There's going to be some strippers. In other words, but my thing is this.
Let me ask you though. I was going to ask. Okay, you talk about the gimmick fights. What was y'all's assessment of the slap fight that was hosted by Ric Flair? Was that a necessary moment in the card? Like, I can get with the performances. You know, Westmore was dope. I even like the Doja Cat performance. But did we need the slap boxing match between the two gentlemen in the middle of the show?
Man, I thought it was funny. I thought it was a moment where a little bit of relaxation happened during the whole grander scheme of things. There's a bunch of sports that's like that.
Sure.
That are entertaining, they're funny, they quick. It don't take a long time. Get that segment in, get it out. On to the next thing. Go to the panel. The biggest thing about this whole event, guys, was they have to find a better way to do the commentary. The table of all of the people that were on, the guys from Oscar to Snoop to the mainstream announcer that they had, the guy from Crime Boxing or whatever what hood is this? When you crime faces, when you have people like that, you have to steer it and feature them, let them talk, do their spiel, and then move on to the next thing, because they're not radio hosts. They're not people that have had experience with sitting on a panel and calling it like you see it. And that was very prevalent or very that was the way that I understood from watching these guys not having any experience in doing. Snoop is a color commentator.
Sure.
He assumes the role as, oh man, I can't believe that, man. That looked like my two uncles fighting at the picnic. That's fine. But there's a place for that. When the announcer starts talking and says, well, Snoop, I mean, you might think that this looks like a backyard fight at your neighbor's house, but this guy is a seasoned fighter, and he starts breaking down what this fight really is about and calling the fight so you can understand what's going on. That's got to be laid out. They got to have a production meeting. They have got to start doing more things that are understood as heavily structured the way that real sports is consumed, because some stuff is fundamental. You just have to do it the way that it's been done for years.
Well, I mean, as a fight fan, me personally, I don't mind seeing a little bit of entertainment. But when I go to the fight, I've been going for many, many years. I normally go to see the fight. And the thing is, I cannot wait until the main event. Sometime I won't even show up until 2, maybe 3 fights before the main event, because I don't want to be there all night, because I'm going there to see a certain person. I'm not going to see all these other guys. I'm not going to see all this other stuff that's going on. And that right there, from a structure perspective, they definitely going to have to work on that if they want something like this to work out.
See, your name came up because I had this conversation on a show that I do. And the guy said, well, if you're not going to have Snoop Dogg with all his antics and cussing, who do you get to do the color commentary? I said, Booker T. Booker T is entertaining. He understands that when you're on live TV that you can't say the F word.
Yeah.
You can't say the N word. You can't pull a joint out. Hey, man, I'm rolling a joint on the computer while they're getting ready for the fight. I mean, like there's certain couth that you have to have if you're going to have big corporate sponsors be involved, because the big corporate sponsors, regardless, they're going to look at that and say, "Hey, man, that's devaluing. That's not treating women correctly." Those women were performing to doing a job. They got paid to do their jobs,
and they would get
but that's another argument that we can have. But there's a lot of things that the perception of it is what I'm saying.
Definitely.
The big sponsors are not going to want to be, really be a part of that. You're not going to have that sponsored by Budweiser or Coca-Cola if you got strippers on the show. It's just not, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get those money. You're going to have to get liquor companies. You're going to have to get marijuana, what you call the places that people go.
Just look at it. I mean, Paul Pierce, he just had some strippers on the computer, and he got fired from his job.
Right.
So like you say, the corporate sponsors is not gonna, like I say, it's something that can work, but they definitely gonna have to change the model. Let's just say that Jake Paul being Askren to fight. Let's talk about that. I was listening to this analyst talk about this fight, and they said, man, you guys should not, count Ben Askren out. He's been training with Freddie Roach, and Freddie Roach say he's done everything, that he's asked him to do. That analyst just happened to be CM Punk.
Well, hey, but you know what? All the love in the world, people are going to be jaded, and people are going to say whatever they want to say.
What are you looking like for, Brad? What are you looking for?
But listen to this, but
listen to Mark.
You don't look at Brad, because his face is telling a story that we're not going there, Brad. Leave it alone.
Okay.
Leave it alone.
Right.
Well, my point is you can train a mule to run at the Preakness, but it don't mean he's gonna win. and I'm just saying that I believe that Jake Paul and what's his brother's name?
Logan.
Logan. I believe that they are serious about the work. It's obvious that they've learned a lot. But just because you learned a lot, it doesn't mean you're going to be Floyd Mayweather. Now, these guys, they're going to beat tomato cans. They're going to beat them because they work hard, they're in good condition, and they're focused, and they listen to their trainers. Because once you get beat or once you get knocked out real bad, then you don't exist no more.
It's a wrap. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole point of what I'm saying is I don't put them in a fight with a really well-seasoned boxer, because there's going to be a class difference. And when you're used to riding a Greyhound and you're going to fight somebody in first class, it's not going to work.
Oh, definitely.
And so you keep him fighting the people that he's fighting. Like, don't overanalyze it. Well, the untrained fighter, whether you won the Olympics in wrestling or kickboxing or jiu-jitsu, those are ground-based fighting arts.
100%.
When you stand up in boxing is they call it the sweet science.
Pugilism.
It is specialized. The way you turn your feet, the angles in which you throw a punch. You got to acclimate your boxing ability to fit a person's height. And when you get against somebody that's really good, I'm going to tell you, Jake Paul, if I would have been Ben's trainer, I would say, I want you to grab him. I want you to run him into the corner, and I want you to sauce him up. He needs to get hit with an elbow, a forearm at least once or twice, and I want you to wrestle him around and make him uncomfortable and frustrated. It's strategy. Boxing is too complicated.
With you training Ben Askren, Mark, I must say he probably would have lasted at least 2.5 minutes.
I mean, Mark. I mean, you being a fan of the boxing, you kind of felt like Booker and I. You thought that Ben had no shot in this fight, or did you give him any credit at all going in there? Do you think that he could have gotten it done?
I was under the impression that he had great trainers that were going to give him strategy, as well as a couple of sessions where you went and hit the heavy bag. It didn't look like he was not tracking. In boxing, you don't lean forward like this when you step and you turn and you step. Boxing is a trained art. It's just like learning how to do jiu-jitsu or judo or any other fighting art. Like standing up and fighting and keeping your shoulders back and pivoting and using your hips to add speed, and use hand speed it's not about how hard you throw, it's how fast you throw. He wasn't trained. He looked like he never had a session.
We got to take a quick break, but before we do take a quick break, I said he was going to get the hell beat out of him, and it wasn't going to take very long at all. That's what I said. Guys,
well, that's what happened. You was right.
We're in the Hall of Fame. We still got Mark Henry with us. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. I'm Booker T, 6-time world champ, along with Brad Gilmore and my man, Mark Henry. We just rolling, man.
Brad, I got to compliment you, man. Before Book, I hate to interrupt you on your show, man.
What?
But I'm going to tell you, Brad, I tell you what, boy, you got that Doc Holliday mustache beard combination together, man. Look at you. Go and say it for me. You know what I want you to say?
What's that?
I'll be your huckleberry.
I knew that was coming. I can see it on a mile away. Oh man, we're just talking about Ben Askren and Jake Paul. Ben Askren and Jake Paul. Like I said, I'm a fan of the sweet science as well. The art of pugilism is what I like to call it. Been watching it for many years, and I could tell when a guy know how to handle himself. That's why I'm not one to ever go out and call a guy out to a fight. I've never been that type of guy. I always been one to defend myself. Go ahead. No, I always been one to defend myself. But to just call somebody out to a fight, no matter how big or how small, you just don't do it, because you cannot underestimate the heart inside when you just can't do it. There again, Ben Askren being an Olympic caliber fighter, Olympic caliber wrestler. And let's just talk about that for a second. Ben Askren once was an Olympic caliber wrestler. He's nowhere near that today. And to think that he can go out and lace the gloves up in his debut and just go out and beat up a man, I just don't think that's wise. I said, and not to rehash it or anything like that, but I said the same thing about CM Punk. As far as CM Punk being a guy that I did not know of any noted fights on record that CM Punk had went in and fought somebody from a professional perspective, to think you can go and take food off that person's table that's been doing it for the last however long. This is what they've been doing. It's just like I equated somewhat to Brock Lesnar. As great of an athlete as Brock Lesnar is, still to this day, when Brock Lesnar walked on that field in Minnesota to try to get that job in the NFL, not being a player of Pop Warner, junior high school, college, getting drafted. Those guys were going to try to hurt him and make sure that he did not get that job, because these guys been working for all of those years for those positions. I'm just saying that because I'm a historian and somewhat at the same time as far as the game go. But now, Mark, I appreciate your insight. as far as that go. But go ahead, Brad.
Well, I was going to ask, do y'all give any credence to? I mean, after the fight on social media, everyone was sharing the video of Ben Askren in his fight against Robbie Lawler, where he was getting pounded, and was still able to be evasive, come back, and eventually win that fight. And then they had this little clip of him walking backstage with his wife. They were hugging, grinning ear to ear after the fight. All smiles. People were saying the number one trend on Twitter was rigged fight. People were thinking that this was rigged. Do you give any credence to that, either one of you, that this was fixed?
No, he got the hell knocked out of him.
Because that's what it looked like to me.
And you know what would have been bad? If the referee would have allowed him to come back and fight again. Because he wouldn't have been smiling when he left, because he'd had a serious concussion, because he would have got hit with a punch. He barely saw that second punch in that 1-2 combination in the first place. The way his body looked, he looked like a melted candle. I would have hit him in his body so many times, he'd have begged me to hit him in the face. And Jake served him up a 2-piece with no sides, no biscuits, and he never saw it. So imagine if he's hurt and he's coming forward and he gets banged and he gets one of those. Like, it's different. He could have really gotten hurt. Then you get your teeth broken. You fall awkwardly. I don't know if you ever saw the Tough Enough that the WWE did with the wrestlers. And
Butterbean.
Yeah, when you box.
Butterbean Bart Gunn.
But Bart Gunn could have died.
Yeah.
He almost turned his head all the way around.
Yeah.
He hit him
one
so
of those
hard.
Things. Yeah.
I mean, it was bad. And Bart, you can recover from getting hit. But when you recover and you come back, that's when you get hurt. And Bart Gunn, prime example.
Yeah, hey,
he
man.
got hurt. And then when he came back out there, Butterbean knew, I'm going to take a step, lower my head. As soon as he stops his feet from moving, I'm going to throw an overhand right. And it was gauged right at the height, and he hit him right flush on the chin, almost turned his head completely around, bro. I was scared for him.
You're probably right as far as Ben Askren going. The referee probably did him a service because
he did.
The thing is, it wasn't going to get any better for Ben Askren in that fight. No. It was only going to go downhill from there. Like you say, being dazed, confused. I always say when you get hit with a shot like that and you go down, you are concussed.
Yeah.
You concuss. From that point on, you're fighting with the concussion. Some guys can fight through it. Some guys can overcome it. But
training is what allows you to understand. It's like a calibration, and it's doing this. Now you concuss. You can't see. You can't throw an accurate punch. You throwing here, but he over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you done put yourself in a bad spot to get. I mean, like. Boxing is a different sport, man.
What's up, this Booker T, 2-time Hall of Famer? I know you're checking out the Shine, checking out the Gloss. I want to thank you guys for checking out Row on YouTube. Hey, don't forget to click and subscribe to check out all the latest content right here each and every week. Now, can you dig that, sucker?